I think, like all of you also, I'm also thinking, what next? And I think that's probably the reason why you're here tonight. We've been thinking at IATP about what happens next. And in fact, we have been asked to develop a couple of sets of recommendations for the new administration in regard to re-engaging with the rest of the world, and also about food and farm policy. One of those will be appearing in a book published by the Institute for Policy Studies within the next month. The other has actually already come out, and I think we have copies of it available for you that you can get on your way out if you're interested in the details. The one on food and farm policy, as I said, isn't available for a month or so, but if you read Michael Pollan's wonderful essay on the first farmer in the New York Times Magazine, you might have gotten a taste for it, because we talked with Michael and he asked to see a copy of that essay when he was preparing his essay for the Times. And after it was published, he sent us a really nice email saying that if the Times allowed citations, the first citation at the end of that article would have been of IATP. So of course, he writes it much better than we could have. So we were really flattered that to have him ask us for our views. We have the privilege of having IATP's international board here, and they're going to share with us some of their thoughts on the significance of this historic election in their countries and for the global community. So I think what I'd like to do is quickly introduce each of our board members and then kick it off with a couple of questions for each of them to respond to. But I want to try and leave as much time as possible for questions and answers, because obviously you're all here for a reason and may have specific things you want to ask about after we've heard the views of the board members. On my immediate right, I have Mr. Stephen Schreibman. Stephen is an international trade lawyer who's been from Canada, who has been a prominent critic of the North American Free Trade Agreement and a number of other trade agreements. He is a member of the board of the Council on Canadians, which is one of the really premier non-governmental organizations in his country, and he describes himself as a reconstructed hog farmer. It's Steve Schreibman. Next to him is Ms. Mika Ebah from Japan. Mika is the coordinator of the Network for Safe and Secure Food and Environment in Japan, and over 20 years or more, she has served as a coordinator for a whole range of campaigns, both nationally and internationally, around issues like genetically modified food, food safety, fair trade, gender and development, and others. To Mika's right is the chairman of our board, Arie van den Brand. Arie is the head of Biologic, which is the Dutch umbrella organization for organic farming. He's also a former member of the Dutch Parliament with the Green Party. And Arie is also a farmer. To Arie's right is Joseph Roger. Joseph is the director of the European Network on International Trade, Agriculture and Development, and has spent, again, much of the last 30 years, especially working in developing countries to support rural development and agriculture. And he is also a farmer, and he lives in Lyon. To his right is Mr. Dr. Candido Jabowski. Candido is from Brazil and is really one of the leading social thinkers in that country. He was one of the co-founders of the World Social Forum, and he's the director of the Brazilian Institute for Economic and Social Analysis. And he's also a farmer. While I'm talking about board members, I would just like to ask the other board members of IATP who are here to stand up and be recognized. Becky Glass is the founder and director for 12 years of the Midwest States Center and is currently the external relations director for Center on Wisconsin Strategies, which is this really innovative group based in Madison, Wisconsin. And she's also a farmer. and Rod Leonard served in the Johnson administration in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and I think the thing about him that is the most of you need to know is that he's really regarded as the creator of the Women, Infant, and Children program in the United States, which over 40 years has been one of the most important sources of nutrition for low-income Americans. Rod. Oh, and here's Lucia. Oh, he was in the Kennedy administration too, I'm sorry. And of course, our beloved Lucia Watson, who probably needs no introduction to anyone who likes good food. Lucia is the founder and owner of Lucia's, and has also served as the head of the board of the Youth Farm and Market, and has written several wonderful cookbooks. And she's our newest board member. Finally, Victor Suarez is the director of Mexico's largest peasant organization and is a visitor with us this week, but we will be inviting him to join the board. So next time we meet, we'll introduce him as a board member. Victor.